and there will be a link on there where you can contact us. Mike, why don't you start introducing yourself while I try and get my computer back up and rolling again, and then I'll start on mine.
All right. Welcome. Bear with us. Neither one of us are good at speaking publicly or privately for that matter. Words are hard, like we keep saying. I go by the name Paranormal Treasure Hunter because I do like the paranormal, especially Bigfoot. And I do like treasure hunting and reading about old treasure hunting stories, old stagecoach robberies and stuff like that. And one of these episodes that we'll be doing, that title more or less found us. We were doing an investigation in an area, and anyway, it's a good story, but we're going to talk more about that one later. But it kind of chose us by the outcome of that investigation. Bigfooting, we call everything we do outdoors Bigfooting, because even if we're camping, hiking, walking, we're always looking for Bigfoot just for fun. Do you want me to go on with that story about college, or are you ready to do yours?
Yeah, no, go ahead. I'll jump in when you're done.
We have a couple of stories from college time that kind of got me interested in this in the first place. When we went to college, we didn't want to live in traditional housing, so me and my brother and some friends of ours got a house, which actually our neighbor owned, and he came and lived with us too. His aunt owned it before that, or lived in it. Maybe it's his grandpa that owned it, but she eventually got taken away to the mental hospital, and so it sat vacant for, I really don't know how long, but when we opened the doors to go in, this place was infested with hobo spiders. We finally just got a shop vac and started sucking those things up. They were everywhere. And we moved in, and luckily nobody got bit, but we had multiple experiences there. One time I had a friend of mine, she was typing a report because I can't type, and I was working nights and I was kind of tired, so I was laying on the bed while she was typing, and I felt somebody sit down beside me, and it kind of rolled me towards them, and I looked over and nobody was there, but you could see where somebody was sitting on the bed, and it kind of surprised me because I thought it was a girl that was typing, and I said something and it got up and left, and the print was gone. And then another time, and this one happened multiple times, but we'd see this hairy, blurry, I don't know what you call it, going around the house, especially late at night, coming down the stairs or coming through the kitchen. I was unlucky enough to sleep in the basement, which is where all the weird stuff happened. That is where this friend of ours, aunt, said she saw people that would live in the basement and kind of haunt her a little bit. But I saw that multiple times. And then the last one, my fiance at the time called me just as I was walking in the house, and I heard the receiver pick up downstairs, and I didn't think anybody was home. So I started to go look, and the back door just slams against the wall as it opened, and though I never saw anybody. So we had several weird things happen there, and I wondered why that house and not other houses I've been in. We had a roommate that kind of got into some bad stuff, watching bad movies and doing stuff on the computer that was inappropriate. Did that bring it in? Was it already there? Would it exist there before we moved in? Why then? Why us? I've always been curious about that because I haven't had many experiences in other places except for that one. The only other one is when I first got married, my wife owned a cabin up in Island Park, and we go there, and it's 2 levels, and we'd stay on the second floor, 3rd bedroom, and at nights we'd hear doors open and close, footsteps all the time, but we never saw anything. And one time, my wife's aunt was there. She walked up the stairs and just came barreling down, kind of screamed, "What's wrong? What happened?" And she said, "Something just told me to get out." And then my wife's grandpa saw somebody in the mirror, and it kind of scared him because he's a no-nonsense kind of guy. Just weird things. And the last one is Melissa's husband, Chris, and I were up there working in Island Park. So we stayed the night there and we watched a really scary movie. It scared the crap out of us. But when I went out to the car to get something threw a piece of wood from our wood pile over the creek and it hit me in the leg. And I thought it was him playing a joke on me, but he was inside the house. So again, somebody did die in that house, but is that what's haunting us? Why that place? Why not the neighbors? Or why not? Why us? Why then? Those are kind of the things that I've been curious about. And with that story about the dark, hairy, blurry being, whatever it was, and the spiders, another guy by the name of John, who we met recently, told me another story about a blurry, hairy being and lots of spiders around his baby's crib, wasn't it? Anyway, it was eerily similar to the one that I experienced. So, just wonder if there's something to that. Are they? Do they hang out? Do spirits hang out in old buildings, cemeteries? Why there? I think in better places to hang out if I was trapped. Are they trapped? Are they lost? Are they just wandering? We've never studied anything about this. We've just experienced some few things and went out to investigate on our own and see what we could learn. Is it possible to communicate with them? Why at times we can, other times we can't? These are some of the questions we sought out to find answers to, and we found some pretty compelling answers to some of these things. That's why we started this, is we're excited to share them with you and see what you think. So, Melissa?
Thanks. Can you
Are
hear
you
me?
working?
Yeah, my computer's back up. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's low,
Is
but
there?
I can hear you.
I've got it going on my phone and my computer, so.
Are your headphones hooked up?
Should be.
Because when you lean away, it's dimmer than when you're closer.
Says they are.
All right.
I'm just not sure how to turn this off now that I've got it muted. Disconnect audio. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay. All right. So I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about how I got started being interested in the paranormal, and I have always been interested ever since I can remember. I don't know if there's a particular time when it all started. If it was just something to do with my upbringing, or if if I just have this curious nature that I love a good mystery. Anything that I can try and solve is fascinating to me. But I remember my very first paranormal experience happened when I was about 9 years old. My brother Steve and I were riding bikes around our grandma's house, which was just, I don't know, a few yards up the road, not very far. And we were riding around, and my mom used to honk this horn out the back door when it was time for us to come home.
Bicycle bugle.
Yeah.
Whack, 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 whack.
So we could just basically play, as long as we wanted to until we heard that horn honk, and then we better hightail it home. So Steve and I were riding our bikes around my grandma's house, and I heard the horn. And so I remember Steve being in front of me, And I saw, like, I don't even know how to explain this, but I was riding my bike. I was riding around the side of the house, and I saw this little kid peek around the corner of the house, and I thought it was Steve. So I rode my bike around to the side of the house, and this was like a matter of seconds, maybe 2 seconds, and nobody was there. And I looked down the road, and Steve was already at the bottom of the driveway. And so then I kind of got spooked because I was like, wait a minute, now that I think about it, that wasn't Steve. It was a little boy in overalls and a baseball cap. And he probably would have been 4 or 5 maybe. And at the time, Steve would have been like 8-ish. And it spooked me. And so I rode my bike home as fast as I could. But when I got home, I remember asking Steve if he saw this little boy, and he's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I said, well, I came to find you after Mom honked the horn. And he's like, I came back as soon as I heard the horn the first time, and then you hadn't come back yet. And so Mom honked the horn again, and I was on my way back up the road to come find you. So I had been playing with some little boy for 5 minutes, maybe a little bit more, and hadn't even really realized it. I was just riding my bike around. And we live out in the country, so it wasn't like there were a bunch of houses around and it could have been just some little neighborhood boy. We didn't have any neighbors at all that were close, and especially none with little boys. So to this day, I still wonder who that little boy was and why he was there. So that was my very first paranormal experience that I can remember. Um, I do I do know that growing up, so our father passed away when we were little. I was 2 years old, and I remember waking up at night and hearing footsteps in the hall, or going downstairs and hearing banging, and
That
not
way we were
knowing.
scared of the basement.
Yeah, I was always scared of the basement, and I know Steve was too. I don't know about the older kids, you and our older two siblings, but I was always scared to go downstairs, and you'd be upstairs and you'd hear some banging and stuff going on downstairs, and we would tell our mom, I'm not going down there, because our storage room used to be down there, and um, she'd ask us to go get something out of the storage room, and I never wanted to go by myself because I was scared, but she would make us go down anyway. But one day she
She
heard
was
the
scared
banging.
too.
Yeah, she heard the banging, and she was like, okay, I don't think that she would just blame it as being the cat or rats or something in the walls, but she's like, yeah, I don't think that's a cat. And I remember we all had gotten our our weapons, our baseball bats and whatever we could find, and
That's
we all
right.
went yeah, we all went down there together to see what we could find, and we couldn't find anything. We had no idea where the noise was coming from, but the older I got, I kind of wondered if it was our dad, not in the house to try and haunt us or scare us necessarily, but at night when I hear the footsteps, I think possibly he was just checking on us, making sure we were all safe and everything was okay. Um, he also had a man cave type room downstairs where he used to keep all of his treasures, and um, he had a dark room where he developed pictures and stuff. And I know he spent a lot of time down there. And I wonder if that was just him, banging around in his little man cave. I don't know for sure, but that was a thought that had come into my mind as I got older. Because we did have so many weird things happen at that house that I remember. I don't know if you remember any of them. Things would get moved. And, at the time I thought it was kind of scary because I didn't know what it was. But looking back on it now, I actually think probably I should have been more comforted by it, knowing that he was there watching over us. That's how I feel. I don't ever remember I was scared because I didn't know what it was, but it wasn't like anything was intentionally trying to scare us. So I think that was a lot of the reason why I kind of wanted to seek and find answers. But too, growing up, we had an uncle that was the town mortician, and he always had some amazing stories. when it came to life after death.